So good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'm Mark Coman from Paul's Photo and the Creative Photo Academy. I want to welcome you to our Nikon Z Getting Started session. This is always a fun and exciting class because many of you just bought your Nikon Z camera or you're investigating a Nikon Z and deciding, is that a camera I want to take home? Is that my next upgrade? Am I going to upgrade my older DSLR or am I going to switch brands? And this tonight's going to help you with that. I want to introduce to you my friend Karen. She's one of our advanced photography students. So say, hey, Karen.
Hey,
So tell everybody what you shoot. They'll get to hear my story in just a minute. So,
I try to shoot a little bit of everything, but I do shoot a lot of birds and animals, and I use a Z8. I actually have two Z8s, which I like because I can keep everything the same. The buttons are all the same, and it works good for
yep.
me.
And what lenses are you currently, what are your go-to lenses?
For the birds,
Yes.
the 180 to 600.
Uh-huh.
If
And
I'm
for everyday,
walking around, pardon?
and for everyday photography,
For every day, it's the 24 to 120. I love that lens.
it's a great lens. Yeah.
But I also play a lot with the 26, the pancake, whatever that is.
Yep.
Yeah, which is a lot of fun. And then I
Great.
have my other lenses so I
Great.
can
Yeah.
do
So
stuff.
so we all have a lot of lenses, but I always like to talk about what people's go-to is. So does
Yeah.
anybody have any questions before we dive in? I've got a real nice presentation for you tonight. And so as you guys are have questions, please type them into the chat. Make sure on the chat you change to chat to everyone so that everyone can see it. And then Karen will stop me and have me answer the questions as we go.
Yeah, but Dahlia said, I think I said her name right.
Yep.
She has a D7200 and she's planning on switching or upgrading to a Z.
Great. Well,
So
this
it's a
is the
big
time to do
difference.
it. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and I hope you guys saw that, for those of you who were at the truck tour over the weekend, Nikon extended the special on the truck tour until Saturday. So you've got a couple extra days if you wanted to make that upgrade. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Anybody else have any questions? If not, here we go. Karen, do you have any questions before we start?
No, no, thank you.
All right, here we go. All right. Karen, can you see the slideshow?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. So, welcome everyone to Nikon Z Getting Started. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight. I really want to welcome you to the Paul's Photo family, where we are three amazing businesses all together. So, Paul's Photo, the camera store, where you come to buy your new gear, the Creative Photo Academy, where you come to learn about that gear, to get inspired, and the lab at Paul's Photo, where we develop film, make prints, scan your old files, and help you share the pictures you made. So, all three of us under the same roof, we all work together to make it work for you to have a great time. And I'll tell you, gang, we have an awesome community. And I want you to join us. There are photographers of every shape, style who come out, whether it's a class like this or an evening photo walk or a trip like Terry and Larry are doing with us to Kenya in a week. We just have so much fun. So thank you for being part of it. Thank you for having so much fun. And thank you for being inspired and inspiring because that's what it's all about. Because at Paul's Photo, the Creative Photo Academy, and the lab, we live by the core values of customer service, community, and sustainable business. That's what helped us get us through the pandemic. That's what's going to get us through what we're going through right now. And we'll be here to continue to serve you and work with you to make photography fun and to share your memories and have a great time together. So tonight, Nikon Z Getting Started. I want you to be excited about the Nikon Z because it is an absolutely awesome camera system. So I hope you have a little fun tonight. You're inspired tonight. You're ready to get started, moving forward, pushing ahead. We're going to talk tonight about what's new and different from SLR to mirrorless and how that affects the way you take pictures. And I know that some of you have never had a camera. Some of you have had older cameras like the D7200, and now you want to switch to Z. So this is not a basic photography class. This is not a what f-stop class, but a way to think like the Nikon Z was designed. And I'm lucky enough to have spent time with enough Nikon people to figure out the right way to help you take your photography further and faster, because that's what we want. And honestly, gang, I love the Nikon Z. I have never loved a camera more than this because it makes the most stunning, amazing pictures. So I'm going to send you tomorrow 4 videos. So number one, what's in Mark's camera bag and why? So this is my camera bag, the bag I'm taking to Africa on Friday. You'll see this slide again in a little bit with a little bit different information in it, but this is what I'm taking to Africa, and you'll find out why I do that and what I do for travel and landscape and all that. I'm also going to send you why mirrorless, why now, because that has a lot of this information in it plus other information to help you figure it out. My Nikon Z travel photography video, but once again, about 90 minutes on how I use the Nikon Z for travel photography, and the Nikon Z wildlife photography class for those of you who want to do animals. And if you're doing sports, even your kids' sports, the wildlife class will help you with that, because the wildlife photography tips are the same tips that I would give you for doing sports photography. So if you remember, gang, if you have any questions, type those into the chat. Karen will relay those to me. So Karen, if you have any questions, let me know. So I photographed since I was 10 years old. And so in the 1970s, I used the Canon F1. In the 1980s, the Leica M6. The 1990s, the Nikon F5. The 2000s. So 1990s, I switched to Nikon, and I haven't looked back from that. So the D2X, the D2Xs in that series in the 2000s, the 2010s, the D800, D810, D850. And finally, in 2017, when Nikon introduced the Z system, I started with the Z7. And I have never looked back. Today, I'm using the Z8 and Z9. I'll soon add a ZR to my kit. But these are amazing cameras, gang, and you will love what they give you. Even if you're just a beginner and you're starting with the Z52 or the ZFC, or you're starting with the Z5 II and the ZF, those are amazing cameras that are so powerful that are going to give you pictures that we only would have dreamed about 10 years ago. And it's just phenomenal. Because remember, gang, your camera is a tool. It is a tool for making pictures. It is a tool for capturing memories. It is a tool for expressing your creativity and your art. No more, no less. I know a lot of us fall in love with our cameras. They become part of the family. And that's all great. But ladies and gentlemen, it's still just a tool. It's what we use to make pictures. It's what we take on vacation. It's what we take to the ballpark on Sunday. It's a tool. So how are we going to make that tool work? Right? And your tool should make amazing pictures. And why I love the Nikon Z so much is it makes the pictures I want. It makes me happy. So you can see I'm printing here on our Canon printer at Paul's Photo. I print my pictures all the time. And having a camera that makes me happy, that takes those pictures, is why I do photography, gang. And that's why I want you to do photography too. So where do I take my Nikon Z? I take it everywhere. So a day at Disneyland. So this was very early on in the Nikon Z8 that I took the Z8 to Disneyland to test it and made fantastic pictures in sun, in shade, at night, indoors, in the rain, because it is a phenomenal tool. The Nikon Z to walk every day at someplace like Disneyland is absolutely amazing. Or how about our family vacation to London? where I took the Nikon Z with me, and it was able to capture these stunning pictures. And I used Karen's favorite lens, the 24 to 120 on this trip most of all, an amazing lens that allowed me to capture and tell these stories both inside and out because it's a Nikon Z. Or in Vietnam from a few years ago when I took the Z7 to Vietnam, that was phenomenal and allowed me to capture what I wanted, to tell the stories of what I see, the people I met, the colors, the life, everything. Because this is what the Nikon Z does. The Nikon Z will become an extension of your hand. It will help you find the pictures. Or how about in the Tetons last fall on a landscape wildlife trip? To be able to find the bison in the backlight. And how stunning is that? Or the bison up close. Or the fall in the trees. Or the wild moose. Or the moose. Or the elk trumpeting in the evening. This is the power of the Z, that we can make all of these pictures with one camera. Or how about Yellowstone in the winter? It's phenomenal. It's fantastic. Or sledding in Canada, where we're going in November to see the polar bears. Yeah, it was minus 30 degrees, just like in Yellowstone. And the Nikon Z worked perfectly and made amazing pictures in the evening of the aurora. How stunning is that? That one camera will do all of this together to help us make the pictures that we want. Like on safari, where we're going to be next week. And how do we tell these stories? How do we share these images? How do we capture the images? There's so much to see, so much to capture, so many stories to tell. And your Nikon Z is going to get you there. Like I said, to the ball game on Sunday. It can do phenomenal things and capture fantastic moments. And all you have to do is take it there and put it in position to be able to make the pictures that you want. That's the secret. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So, Karen, are there any questions before we get going here?
No, but I just want to remind that everyone chats to everyone, not to host and panelists.
Great, perfect. Thank you. So let's start with a little bit of a tour of the camera. So Karen, can you see the cursor?
Yes.
So one of the cool things about the Nikon Z family is the Z50, 5, 6, and 7 all look about the same on the top. So you have the on and off, the ISO, the exposure compensation, the movie record button, the shutter release or picture button, the main control dial, the mode dial here on the Z50, Z5, Z6, Z7. Now, we're not going to go into how to use all those things. I mean, that's for our basic photography classes, but I just want to get familiar with it because, gang, this is just a camera. It's a camera just like any other camera, and all of the aperture, f-stop, shutter speed, ISO, white balance, all those settings you're familiar with apply here. Now, we switch to the Z8, Z9, we have a little bit of a different makeup. So instead of having the mode dial, you have the mode button where you press the mode button and turn the control wheel. You have the motor drive control, the bracket control, the white balance control. But once again, shutter release, ISO, plus minus, video record, all in the same place. So one of the things I love about using the Nikon Z, and for those of you who are beginners, You're going to pick up whatever is your first camera. And then when you fall in love with it, like you will, you'll want to upgrade to another Nikon Z camera or get a second Nikon Z camera. And you don't have to start from scratch because everything you learned on the first one will apply on the second one. And I find it to be very efficient and very easy for my customers and students to do. With the exception of the retro cameras, the ZF and the ZFC. So these cameras are retro styling with the on and off button, the shutter release, the movie record button, exposure compensation, the aperture or f-stop, shutter speed on the dial, ISO on the dial, and then here are the modes: auto, program, shutter, aperture, manual. So you can see the cameras are all set up slightly differently, but the same. But the backs on all of the cameras are nearly identical. The one difference is that the 5, 6, 7, the playback button is here. And on the Z8, Z9, the playback button is here. But you know what? On my Z8, I made this button something else, and I made the playback button up here. So all my Nikon Z cameras, the playback button is in the same place. So you have the trash can button, the display button where you can toggle between the different display modes, the switch to go from video to still. Now for those of you with the Z50, that's here on the top. There's the same switch that's on the top. One thing I want to share with you here, this is the eyepiece, the viewfinder. And on all the Z cameras, there's a teeny, you see the little window there? That is the sensor that when the camera is in the auto viewfinder mode, that switches between the LCD screen and the viewfinder. If you find that your camera is not switching or the back screen is not working, that's generally because this little window there is dirty. So what do you need to do? You need to clean it. You need to get a microfiber cloth and you need to just rub. There's some dirt, an eyelash, some oil on that little window. And it's easy here on the Z8. You just press the button and off comes the eye cup. On all the other cameras, the eye cup slides on. So you just push and pop up the eye cup. You can clean that window and push it back down. The AF on button, which we're not going to talk about tonight, but I programmed that for something else. The trackball or trackpad for moving the focusing around. The I button, which we'll spend a ton of time on tonight. And finally, the OK button, the menu button, plus and minus for playback, and the playback button, which on my camera is up here. This button is used now on my camera from the custom functions for scrolling between the different focusing styles. Are there any questions, Karen, or does anybody have any questions about the top or the back of the camera?
No, but Dahlia said that, has a question. Some of the Zs are professional level and others are for general use. Is that correct?
Well, remember that all the camera companies make consumer level cameras, hobbyist level cameras, and professional level cameras. You don't need to be a professional to buy a professional level camera. The Nikon Z6s and Z7s are considered to be in the professional range of Nikon because they are rugged and weatherproof. The Z8 and the Z9 are the professional Nikons because they're rugged, weatherproof, and they have the improved performance. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
So it's all about speed and performance, gang. Speed and performance. So on the Z8 and Z9, you have the flip out screen, which is awesome because it flips out, it folds out. It also flips out in the vertical mode to do that. On the other cameras, you have the swing out screen, which a lot of people prefer. It's a personal preference. So that is on the ZFC, the ZF, the Z52, the Z52, and the Z6 III have the swing out screen. And it just depends. And one of the advantages of the swing out screen, of course, is that you can flip it around and have someone who's looking into the camera see the screen if you want. Some people like that feature. So this is a Z6 III with one of the small rig cages on it for video cinema production. So where we're going to spend the most of the time tonight is here on the I menu. And ladies and gentlemen, you need to get your camera going so that the I menu is your jam. So the I menu is how I interact with my camera from day to day. So you press the I button and up will come the I menu. I didn't ask, how many of you are Nikon Z owners now? And how many of you are wannabes? So type in a yes for now, for that you own Nikon Z now, and type in a W that if you want to, if you're looking to get one later. So
Mark, it
this
looks like
is
it's about 50-50
50-50. Great.
right
Thanks,
now.
Karen. Good.
Yeah.
So, gang, this is the factory setup on the I menu. And so if you want to take it now, you're going to get a copy of this video tomorrow. But if you want to make some notes and take a screenshot, do this slide. So the first one here is the picture control. We'll talk about picture control in a minute. But these are factory setups that the Nikon makes to give you different looks and feels to your picture. And if you're a beginner and you want to change from this look or that look, these are very famous. The Fuji cameras have their film simulations. Well, Nikon actually had this first, and Fuji kind of copied it. So we'll talk about the picture controls in a little bit. Going across the top, the white balance. This is where you adjust what kind of light there is in the picture. The quality is what kind of picture format are you taking? Are you going to take a JPEG or a RAW, or JPEG and RAW? And if you're doing JPEG, so basic, normal, or fine JPEG. So that's what these controls are. And you'll see in my setup that I have changed all this because all of this is programmable. The autofocus area control, which we will talk about in just a little bit, and the autofocus mode. And this is set to manual focus, MF. I recommend, so just to give you a preview, autofocus area control, I recommend wide area small and wide area large, WAS or WAL. And in the focus control, I always recommend for still photography, AFC, for video photography, AFF. Going across to the bottom, this is the SDR file format. So that's used whether you're going to shoot JPEG or HEIF files. The stabilizer on or off. Forget what that one is. Sorry, but I don't use it. The light meter, whether you're doing matrix or spot metering. The airplane mode, which I highly recommend to leave in the on position, because that way it saves your battery and gives you longer battery life, as long as you're not trying to connect the camera to your phone with SnapBridge or connect it to another device. So that's airplane mode would be on. And then finally, the memory card setup. So remember, gang, the I menu is 100% programmable. I'm not going to show you how to do that tonight because that's pretty deep down in the menu, but you can go into the custom function menu in Control I menu and you can customize it. So here is the Z8 I menu setup. You can see it's picture control, white balance, quality, JPEG size, autofocus area, autofocus control, SDR HEIF, the image stabilizer, shooting bank. I forget what this one is. Karen, do you remember what that one is? It's not one that I. Oh, it's my menu.
Yeah, it's
Sorry,
menu, I think.
that's my menu. Yeah, yeah, yeah. My menu. Um, Airplane on or off, and the memory card control. This is standard on the Z8. Look at how that's different from mine. So this is my setup on the Z8. So I have gone in, as you can do, and change what's there. So here on my camera, this is picture control set to natural. Focus peaking on or off. ISO setting. Light meter. The focus control. So I recommend this for AFC, the focus area. White balance. The image stabilizer, the airplane mode, plus or minus control, time lapse control, and pre-capture control. So that's how I have set up my iMenu. So the way you work the iMenu is, hold on, you can either change by using the control dial or the lefty, righty, uppy, downy button and then hit OK, or it's touchscreen and you can just touch and navigate through the iMenu. So I want you, when you get your Z camera, to experiment and play with setting up your iMenu to get the tools there that you want for your style and type of photography. Can I make another comment? Please do not buy or download from the internet somebody's setup. You need to set up the camera yourself. We see it all the time. Customers leaving on vacation or going to a family wedding, and they said, well, yeah, no, I went to Willie Wedding Photographer and downloaded his setup for my Nikon Z5 II, and how come this doesn't work? And I said, okay, can you tell me what you adjusted? Well, I have Willie Wedding in my camera, and I don't know what Willie Wedding has done. So we have to then just reset everything back to factory specs and start over again. So please, if you're going to be playing with the iMenu, making adjustments, make notes to yourself and know what adjustments you've made. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions about the iMenu? I know I'm not giving you a lot of answers tonight. I'm asking a lot of questions, but that's how this is designed. You know, we're going to move quickly through the functions and then get you going. Any questions, Karen?
No, no questions. Oh, Mark?
Yes, Karen.
Yeah, Joe wanted to know why leave airplane mode on?
Because with airplane on mode on, it's just like on your phone when you put it in airplane mode. Your camera will not be emitting any electronic signals when it's in airplane mode on. If you turn airplane mode off and tell the camera to connect to Wi-Fi, what happens? The camera is continually looking for a Wi-Fi signal to connect to. It's just like when you take your phone to an area where it doesn't have a good phone signal, it wears down real quickly because it's struggling to find a signal. So that's why I turn airplane mode on. So I'm turning off the electronic signal until I'm ready to connect. The other reason for doing that is if you're going to use SnapBridge to connect to your phone or your iPad, you can leave all of that set up and on, turn airplane mode on, and then it's off. And then when I turn airplane mode off, all that connection reestablishes itself. It's a faster and easier way to connect the camera, because otherwise you've got to go into the Wi-Fi connection and reestablish the Wi-Fi connection. Did that help, Joe?
Actually, that was Joe Fox, and
Oh,
she
okay.
did say that explains her battery drain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I shoot, so I will shoot a whole football game on 2 batteries on the Z8. I will go, on safari in Africa on Saturday. I will shoot, one battery in the morning, maybe 1,000 pictures, one battery in the afternoon, 1,000 pictures, because I leave the airplane mode on most of the time. So the biggest reason most of you convert, other than size and weight, of course, is autofocus. Because the autofocus on the Z blows away your DSLR camera. And if you have an original Z7, one reason to upgrade to the Z7 II is better, faster autofocus. The main reason people upgrade to the Z8 and Z9 is better, faster autofocus. But I just want to explain to you the difference between SLR autofocus, for those of you who have an SLR camera, and this is brand agnostic. I'm not picking on one brand or another here, but this is the way it works. So your SLR camera has a number of focusing points. This is hardware. So the problem is if I'm photographing a bird and I have this focus active, and if the bird flies to this focus, I have to then physically move the square over to make the focus change. On the Z camera and most mirrorless cameras, the Nikon Z focuses over the center 90% of the viewfinder. So you can focus just about anywhere. Inside that center 90%, there are no blind spots. The camera will track the focus, and that's one of the things that Nikon does amazingly from any camera from the original Z7 up until the latest camera, the Z5 II or the Z6 III, is it tracks autofocus amazingly. And for those of you who were with us on the truck tour over the weekend that used the Z5 II and the Z50 II, I hope that you got to see this. I worked with many of you on the autofocus to get it where you should be, because unfortunately they give you the cameras out of the truck in the idiot-proof basic settings. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this class for most of you, is to help you with that. So, what does this technology allow me to do? Compose the picture, and then using the trackball, put the focus point exactly where I want it, where in this case would be on the eyeball of the lion on the left. Focus where you want. We used to do all kinds of tricks with SLR cameras by putting the focus in the center, scooting the camera over, locking the focus, coming back. You can still do that if you want, but it's so much easier to move the focusing square over and go to autofocus continuous, AFC, so that it will track the focus on the subject. It is amazing, gang. So that I can put the focus right here on the lioness, and even in the rain, it will track her face as she moves. That's right. It'll track her face as she moves. So, one of the mirrorless advantages is focus is not by hardware, it's by software. So you'll notice if you are switching from the Nikon D850 to the Nikon Z8, you will notice that the D850, the top SLR camera, will acquire focus a wee skosh faster than the mirrorless camera will. That's because it's focusing by contrast, not detail. But if you're using a Z camera, any Z camera in the lineup, the tracking is awesome. So this was my first day photographing with the Z7. This was in 2017, in the fall of 2017. I put the focusing square on the quarterback's face, and it tracked him. And if you've tried this with any other camera, where is the focus going to go? To this guy right here, or to this guy right there, right? It tracked him. And it's amazing, the technology. Now, can we make an artistic case as should I have focus there? Maybe. But I wanted the focus on the quarterback. I put the focus on him, it locked on his face, and it moved with him. For moving animals, for action, for the dog, the kids, whatever. Action, action, action. The tracking is phenomenal. And in the modern cameras, so on the Z52, the Z52, the Z63, the Z8, the Z9, the ZF, we have the priority focuses. And we can choose people priority where it will recognize an eyeball and lock on the face. We can do animal priority, bird priority, vehicle priority, airplane priority, where it will lock on and track whatever you've told it to do. Now, how do you do that? In the I menu, we've selected the AF area mode, and then I recommend wide area small, wide area large. That's a small screen that gives us a smaller bounding box for finding the subject, or wide area large, a larger bounding box for finding the subject. And it just depends. So in these two cases, it really doesn't matter if I'm using the wide area small or wide area large autofocus. In these two cases, it really doesn't matter whether I'm using wide area small or wide area large. But if we have more than one subject in the scene, like the football player, I need to go to the wide area small and tell it that this is the area. So I am always moving back and forth between wide area small and wide area large. So how do I do that? I hit the I button, go to focus area, touch screen, and I just toggle back and forth between those. Or maybe you want to set up the custom function that, like I did, I put it on the playback button on my Z8, so I can use this to toggle back and forth between those two. So that's the focus area. The next choice is the subject detection. All of your cameras are going to come out of the box in the auto subject detect mode. And that's fine, but I always tell my students and customers, get out of auto subject detect immediately, because that slows the focus down. So I tell people to put the priority where you want. People, animals, vehicles, airplanes, birds, or off. I am working the detect all the time. So if I'm in Africa, I'm going to flip back and forth between animal and bird. And then when we go to the village, people. If I'm doing a landscape, you need to remember to turn the detect to off, because otherwise the camera is going to be looking for a face and there is no face. If I have it on vehicle and I'm shooting animals, the camera is going to have a hard time deciding, ooh, is that a Toyota or a Honda? No, it's a giraffe. What am I going to do here? I don't know what to do. So you've got to help the camera out and put the focus area where you want on the subject and put the subject detect where it should be. Questions, Karen?
There are no questions, Mark.
How am I doing? Are you guys getting this? Is it making sense? Are we getting answers, Karen?
Yes.
Awesome. Good.
Well, there's one yes, yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. Good. So here I am.
Oh, Mark,
Yeah, go ahead.
someone said, what about wide, small? You explained that, right?
Yeah, wide area, small. So here we're gonna talk about this right now, right? So here I'm in people detect, right? If I have the camera in autofocus area, which means it's going to focus on the whole scene, which of the 10 people in the picture is it going to focus on? I don't know. And a lot of you complain because the camera has all these green dots that kind of flash around. Yeah, that's what you've told it to do. If I go to wide area large, it's going to be a square about this big. And if I leave it set here, it's going to pick this guy right here because he's in the square. In this case, I would go to wide area small and pick right here the people that I want to be in focus. That's up to you, right? So wide area large, wide area small. I had this one in wide area small, and I pointed at her. Then it found her eye to focus. That means the guy is out of focus in the background. That's what I wanted. I didn't want to focus on him and have her out of focus. Is that making sense? So when you're using the auto detect, right, you have a group of people. Which one are you going to want it to focus on? I go to wide area small. I put the box here. It focuses on her. I'm good to go. Or if I decide that this one is it, I move the box to here and let the focus go there. For action, it's awesome. I'm generally in the wide area large for sports and action because I want it to capture the action. So hold on one second. So the wide area large is what I would generally do for sports and action. Unless, what's the matter? If I have three surfers, right, which one is it going to pick? I need it to pick my guy, right? So that's why I would switch between wide area large and wide area small. Here, will autofocus face detect work? Yes or no? What do you think, Karen?
It might work on the first lady.
Yeah, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. You need to see the eyes.
Right.
But
You
it
got
will
to see
focus on
two
her
eyes, a
head,
nose,
right?
and a face.
It will focus on her head though, right?
Maybe, maybe not. It just depends. So I didn't explain that the face detect is looking for two eyes, a nose, and a mouth. Sometimes it'll work if the people have sunglasses on. If they have a mask on, it won't work at all because it doesn't see the nose and the mouth. Here, the face detect, of course, won't work because there's no face. It's a silhouette. And so if you're backlit, the people are dark, you're in adverse conditions, that's where you need to turn face detect off. In this case, I would probably turn face detect off. Or if it did focus here, I would just move the square right here to the corn dog to get the picture that I wanted. Same thing here. I focused on this guy right there to get the picture that I wanted. So using the autofocus technology is so fun and easy. So animal detect, very good on canines. And if I put the camera in animal detect, what does that mean? That means it's going to go for the dog, not the person, because it's going to recognize I want the animal, not the person. So it works great on canines. On dogs, it works great. If for some reason you were wide area large and it picked the woman, I would just go to wide area small, put it on the dog. It's going to lock on the face. It's going to be awesome. And it works on most types of mammals. The animal detect works. Now, when I'm in Africa, I've learned over the years that there's some animals it doesn't work on, and we'll talk about those in just a second. But using the animal detect is phenomenal. So once again, I'm in wide area large. I move the square to where I want it. So I put the square like right here. It focuses, it locks in, right? So for cats, it works as well. I'm in wide area large. I've got it here. It picked this animal because she is bigger and closer. And that's what the priority is in the detect. Biggest, closest is the one it wants. So cats, good. Lots of choices in animals. Yeah, so as long as it's a normal looking mammal, the animal detect works great. Birds, amazing. I have been trying in Africa to take this picture for decades. So 2025 marks the 20th year of me leading safaris to Africa. So I'm about to go on my 25th safari to Africa with the group. I have tried this picture with other cameras. The only cameras that will take this picture are the Nikons with the XP7 bird priority autofocus. So that's the Z9, the Z8, the Z6 III, the Z5 II, the Z52. Every other camera gets fouled on this picture with the bird focus. It's amazing to use the bird autofocus, the bird priority. I was going to tell you guys animals and, elephants and zebras don't work in. Let me go back. Karen, do you have any tips for them on bird priority? Because you do a lot more regular birds than I do.
No, I agree with keeping the focus area smaller when you have the birds with stuff in the background.
Yep.
But when they're in the sky, I put it on the full big area.
You use the wide air, the auto area.
Yeah, when they're in the sky, when there's nothing behind.
Okay, great. Any questions about that?
I don't see any questions, Mark.
Everybody okay? Great. Awesome. So, elephant doesn't work in animal priority. Giraffes don't work in animal priority. And funny thing, giraffes work in bird priority. Insects work in bird priority. Zebras don't work at all. I have to turn it off and just put the focus square where I want. So you just have to learn this stuff, gang. And you learn by doing, you ask questions, you come to class. That's what it's all about. Join us for lunch and learn, once a month where we have the Nikon discussion live in the classroom. It's awesome. Vehicle priority, phenomenal. To be able to track the vehicle. And you know what the crazy thing about vehicle priority, Karen, is? Have you ever shot vehicle priority?
No, I haven't.
So when you're doing a race car like this, the vehicle priority will lock on to the front of the vehicle until it recognizes the driver, and it switches then to the driver. It's amazing. Same thing with airplane priority. If you can see the pilot in the airplane, it'll switch focus from the fuselage of the airplane to the pilot if you want. It's absolutely phenomenal. And it gives us the ability to make these pictures where, when I was shooting, even with D5 or D850, those beloved SLR cameras, down at the Long Beach Grand Prix, I would get 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 in focus. With the Z8 and Z9, it's 95% in focus. It's absolutely phenomenal. Yep, all types of vehicles. So I did this when in Bangkok using the vehicle priority. We were photographing the tuk-tuks going by, slow shutter speed. It made the focus. It was amazing. Yep, airplane priority. Airplane priority locks on. Awesome sauce. I love it. So great. Any questions?
No, there aren't any questions.
All right, great. So another reason to love the Nikon Z is the low light performance. And if you haven't shot in low light, you need to. For those of us that are older film photographers, we remember how important it was to keep the ISO down. Well, that's not really a problem anymore. So the ISO is the sensitivity to light. The newer cameras, the Nikon Z cameras, just blow the doors on ISO. So low light performance on the Nikon Z is amazing. because the focus speed and accuracy, even in low light, as long as your exposure is proper, is awesome. And the image quality is absolutely fantastic. So here, this was in Tanzania in a mud hut, 3200 ISO. And a lot of you who have other cameras or film cameras or even DSLR cameras are saying, "Oh my gosh, that is so awesome for 3200 ISO." Well, well, well. How about 6400 ISO or 12,800 ISO? Or where Nikon goes where no one else dares to tread, 25,000 ISO. So this is in a cigar factory in Havana. Or what was the high ISO leader, right? 51,000 ISO from the Pirates of the Caribbean in Disneyland to the new high ISO leader, the Z6 III. How about 64,000 ISO? And I have this print in the store. It's phenomenal. There's virtually no grain. And how dark is it in the Pirates, guys? So look at this one from about 6 or 7 years ago. This is from the Z6 II. This is from the Z6 III. And that's another reason to think about upgrading. If you have an original Z6 or Z7 to come up to the modern cameras, you're going to get 3 or 4 stops of ISO increase. It's unbelievable. Absolutely, positively unbelievable what you can do today. Questions, Karen?
Nope, no questions.
Boy, you guys are super easy. How about some challenging there, huh? How about some questions? So, one of the settings that makes Nikon unique and that Nikon is very proud of are the picture controls. So we talked about them. It's on the I menu. We talked about that. And it's also on the top button on the Z52 and the Z5 II. And we'll probably see that coming to the newer cameras as the newer cameras come. So what is the picture control? It's a photo recipe for the look that you want. So this picture control, this recipe is baked into the JPEG files. Now, if you're a RAW shooter, you shoot RAW, so you get the RAW file, and then you get the JPEG where the recipe is baked in. So how do you access this? So on the Z5 II, the Z52, you press the bottom on the button on the top, and then you access it on the back screen. Or for all the cameras, it's part of the I menu. So the picture control. So here is the picture control. Here, that's automatic. These are the choices, and there are currently in the cameras, there are a dozen or so standard picture controls. Then there are 12 to 20, depending on the camera, custom picture controls. These picture controls are all customizable. You can import them into your camera. So this is something that you can import from the Nikon website, from your friend, and you can explore. And if you wanted to buy these recipes from somebody and put them in your camera, I would say go ahead and do that. It's great. So you can use those with the picture control utility software from Nikon that's free. That's one way you can adjust them, import them, upload them. And this is all for beginning photographers to change the look of your picture, right? The look of your picture. So you switch from the standard neutral or auto picture control to the portrait picture controls. Gives you a warmer, softer, more pleasing looking portrait. And for those of you who remember the old Instagram filters that used to be prevalent on Instagram, That's where Instagram got this. They got it from Nikon in their picture controls because they've had these for 20 years in their cameras. So portrait picture control, vivid picture control to give you a brighter, crisper color, monochrome picture control to give you a black and white image. And remember, gang, if you are shooting RAW and JPEG, the JPEG will be the monochrome and the RAW picture will be standard, which then you can adjust. Or I can switch from monochrome to one of the crazy picture controls like binary or charcoal or denim, all kinds of different looks and feels that you can create in the picture, or dreams or peaches or summer or fall or sepia. There are tons of picture controls. And remember, these are downloadable, they're adjustable, they're customizable. So let's say you like dream, but that's a little bit too, there's a little bit too softness in there. You can dial the softness down 2 notches. That's up to you. Or night sky, which puts in the formula, the secret sauce for the night sky. Any questions, Karen?
Yeah, Larry wanted to know on the max ISO settings, are
Mm-hmm.
they different for the Z7s versus the Z8?
Yes, they are. So the Z8's going to go higher than the Z7, Larry. And
And then
these are
Z7
not
too?
the highs, right? So the cameras have high 0.3, 0.7, 0.1, 1 and 2 in manual ISO if you enable those. So these are just the native ISOs in the camera. And I believe the highest native ISO for the Z9 and the Z7 II are 25,000, I believe.
And Vidalia wanted to know if you're changing the picture control,
Mm-hmm.
are there any other settings that need to be adjusted?
No, because you're just changing the color of the picture. So
Okay, because she said,
I want it dreamy, I want it binary, I want it monochrome. And using the other thing you can do is if you use the Nikon Capture NXD software, you can take the picture standard and then apply the picture controls to it later.
and then to Vidalia again,
Mm-hmm.
she wrote stay in the, I think it's aperture shutter program mode.
It
It doesn't
doesn't
matter
matter.
what mode you're in.
It doesn't matter.
And Jill wanted to know where on the Nikon site are those recipes again?
They're
NX
in the
Studio?
Nikon picture control utilities.
It's not in NX Studio, no?
No, it's not in NX Studio. It's in Nikon a picture control utility.
Okay. And then
And
Katrina wanted to know, do those picture controls work in video mode?
yes, they do. They all work in video mode as well. But the only problem, Katrina, is in video, videos are like JPEG. So once you do the picture control, it's baked in. You're done. It's not like doing RAW plus JPEG. Anything else, Karen?
No, that's it, I think, for right now.
Awesome. So I talked to you a little bit about SnapBridge before, and SnapBridge and the Nikon Imaging Cloud are ways that you can share your pictures. So you can see here, Nikon Imaging Cloud, that's where the recipes are. Sorry, right? Imaging Cloud, you can transfer the images from your camera to different devices. SnapBridge allows you to do firmware updates. It allows you to transfer the images to your phone or your iPad. And I love this technology, but I have to give you a warning about it. It always works when you're sitting in your living room. when you have good, strong Wi-Fi and the camera has a good, and your phone has a good, strong signal. If you go and try to use it at a party where there's 25 people around on their phones, it may work sporadically. If you are at a wedding where there are 200 people on their phones, it's not going to work at all. If you're at a stadium where there's 50,000 people on their phone, it's really going to struggle. So just remember that. I love this technology, but I don't get used to it and I don't depend on it. Does that make sense, Karen?
Yes, for
Because
sure.
under certain circumstances, it just won't work.
But I do use SnapBridge a lot when I'm out
Oh yeah.
to share the photos with whoever I'm shooting with.
Yep. It's so fun to do that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if you're
And
at the Botanic Gardens with the
then
girls,
right,
it works fine.
yeah. There's also a question from Katrina
Yep.
and about JPEGs. If you're shooting RAW plus, if you're set the camera to RAW plus JPEG, and if it's RAW, would automatically give you a JPEG.
If you're in RAW plus JPEG, so Katrina, you have to set on the picture quality RAW plus JPEG, and then it will give you a RAW, which is RAW, and the JPEG, which has either if you're shooting just regular pictures, it'll just be the JPEG. If you're using the picture control, the JPEG will have the picture control baked into it. You can't change that because it's already done. And the RAW photo will be just a RAW. And even if it comes up in Lightroom or Photoshop with the adjustments made, you can always back all that stuff out of it. You can just turn it off. Did
And
that
then
answer your question?
if she's shooting in RAW plus JPEG and I shoot the picture control with it automatically, it will give her a JPEG. It'll give
Yes,
her both.
exactly. Yeah, no, it'll give a JPEG. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, yep, yep.
Oh, but if she's shooting only in RAW, it will not give her a
It
JPEG.
will not give her a JPEG. No, you have to be in RAW plus JPEG.
And there's a question about the Z8.
Yeah,
Does it embed GPS coordinates into the image?
no.
I keep my SnapBridge on when I'm shooting to
Hmm.
get that.
Yes. So that's how you do it. So SnapBridge will give you the GPS because it takes it from your phone.
Right.
And the other thing that a lot of my customers do, especially if they're concerned with battery life, is they just shoot a picture on their phone, and then you can export the GPS data from your phone into the EXIF data on your picture files.
So
Don't
Katrina,
ask me how
did
to
that,
do that. I've never done it, but I know it's done a lot.
yeah. So Katrina, did that answer the question about that you had about the RAW and JPEGs? Yes.
Awesome. So I also want to talk for a minute about firmware. One of the things I love about Nikon is they are continually updating the cameras. And for those of you who have an older camera, whether it's a DSLR or mirrorless, you need to go to the Nikon website, nikonusa.com, service and support, find your camera, and then look at the firmware so that you can check in the menu, the tools menu at the bottom, the firmware version of your camera, because Nikon is continually updating the firmware. On the Z9, it's currently on version 5 dot something. On the Z8, it's version 3.1. And if this was another camera from another manufacturer, it would be the Z9 Mark IV. It would be the Z8 Mark II. That's how much change Nikon is making to these cameras. They've added tons of features and tons of functionality. Now, can they bring all of the functionality forward? No, because you're limited by the hardware in your camera. And people wanted, Mark, you said that they do the firmware. Well, I have the Z7 Can't they update that to like the Z7 too? No, because on the Z7, it was an XP6 processor. The Z7 II, they did two XP6 processors, so it had twice as much computing power. Now, the new cameras, the Z8, the Z9, the Z6 III, the ZF, all have the XP7 processor, which does even more. But check that firmware, make sure your camera is up to date. And even if you buy a new camera, if you buy a new camera tomorrow, always go home and check the firmware. Or if you want, when you buy the camera from us, we'll open it up and check the firmware for you to make sure it's good. I mean, not good or bad, but it's up to date. So remember, gang, photography is all. And any questions about the firmware, Karen?
No questions about the firmware.
Awesome. Good. So remember, your pictures are supposed to make you happy. Your pictures are supposed to be a joy. Your photography, now, is it always a joy? Is it always happy? No. But your pictures are supposed to make you happy. They're supposed to be phenomenal. Are your pictures award winners? And we are so blessed at Paul's Photo and the Creative Photo Academy. For the rest of the month of October, if you come in, make sure you ask to see the Orange County Fair winning photos. We have 49 pictures hanging up in the store and in the classroom that are ribbon winners from the Orange County Fair. That's what your photography is supposed to do, from our students, from our community, from your friends and neighbors who take pictures with us. It's so much fun to get the focus where you want, to take you down the road to creative photography, to get the picture to tell your story. That's the beauty of using the camera, to find your desires and to make it work so that we can do this together. I love it. It's so much fun. And together, we can do anything. We can make these powerful pictures. And with a little bit of tool and a little bit of technology, it's so much easier. Are you ready to do this, to get it done, to have some photography? So please, gang, be sure that you follow us, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. If you need help, I answer every single email, mark@paulsphoto.com. Check the website. Come by, call, email. We're always here to help because we want you to be successful with your camera. Because when you win, we win too. Any
Mark?
questions? Yes, Karen.
Yeah, Mark, Bedelia wanted to know, do you have to upgrade firmware for the Z lenses also?
Yes, some lenses have new firmware updates, so you just have to look at those updates. Any other questions? Am I back? Can you see me, Karen?
Yes, we see you, Mark.
Yay! It all worked. I love it when the technology works, gang. It makes it so fun.
Are, are there any other questions?
Yeah, I'd
Mark?
love any questions?
And I did tell Katrina, if you do shoot in RAW, right? And I don't use Nikon Z, I use Lightroom Classic, but you can go through and you can actually see the different camera profiles on your raw photos if you're in Lightroom Classic. I don't know about Nikon Z, you can too, I think,
Yeah, no,
right?
it's all the same. Yes.
Yeah, the NX Studio, you can see them.
Yep. All right. Everybody else? Everybody okay? All right, gang. I want to thank you for coming. I want to thank you for being part of what we do at Paul's Photo and the Creative Photo Academy. I want you thank you for your creativity and your questions. We can't do this without you, but more often than not, we need your support. When you're ready to buy a new camera, come see us. When you need a new bag, a new filter, a new battery, a new memory card, a new print to take a class, a trip, we need you to come and support us. We're a small family camera store. Your shopping is how we survive. So Thank you very much, everyone. I hope I got to answer all the questions for you. I hope you had fun. If you need anything, let me know. Thank you all. Thank you, Karen. It's always great to see you. Any questions?
I think that's it.
Awesome, gang. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night. Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome.